As Mercy girls in the 50s, we had much more pressing concerns. Garter belts. The elastic flipped forward when you sat down. It sat back on a smart salute. Remember that. Nylons became in two pieces. They were prone to run, which you then try to halt by applying clear nail polish. With the excruciating pain that ensued when you ripped them off at night again and the sand flew to your side. And you remember that they came in like 15 denier? And the sales lady had tissue paper around the box. She put her hand in the top and showed you how she did it. And expensive, I believe. Now, when we weren't having to deal with garter belts, we were dealing with girdles. Like boa constrictors, they kept us from taking anything but tiny little baby steps. And I think it's the reason why we have so many excellent sopranos in the group. We had underwear with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That I suspect maybe wasn't worn on its appropriate. I think that sometimes Sunday could get us to midweek. Don't pretend you don't remember. We certainly didn't wash our hair every day. Pretty much it would be Saturday, because it had to dry. You need those rollers. You'd have to sleep with them. This is long before we had hair dryers or anything like that, or those fancy little kits with the hose and the blow-up. That was later. That was not when we were, that's not 59. Where am I here? So consequently, since we only washed our hair typically once a week, we'd only wash our bangs, because that's the part that got separated and greasy. Now, some people bought that dry shampoo, remember that? But if you were too cheap like me, the talcum powder. And of course, it had to be a particularly greasy bang day. It would end up looking like pie dough. But how about the fun of those sanitary belts and bands? Those innocent-looking belts had a nasty little metal hook on it that invariably got entangled in a hair. And you'd have to do a double-jointed dance to free it. And the sucker in the back was just as dangerous. Because it would get jammed down in that little belly. And it was just as difficult to dislodge. Now, you get the Kotex at the drugstore. I don't think you could get it in a food store. I think it was too dangerous to have it out there and labeled. I mean, there might be like boys. So you go to the drugstore and you order it from the druggist, always male, and low a voice, hoping nobody would overhear you. And then he hands you a plain green paper box. Nothing else came wrapped in a green plain paper box. It may as well have a spotlight on it. A blinking light. Hey, oh, C-D-S. Now, my mother in her life never said the word period or pregnant in full voice. It was muffled through her nose. Period. My sister and I say, what? She'd say, Mary has a period. We look at each other and we say, what's the period? Or someone goes, pregnant. We say, you what? Pregnant. Now, we called it our friend. No. Is that a laugh? Our mothers were more honest. They called it the curse. Now, I'm not sure we ever actually called it by its proper name. Usually we said I have my friend, or it's that time of the month. I think the only time we named it was when we were talking to Miss Smith as an excuse to get out of bed. And this brings us to the big difference between men and women. They say if men had periods, they'd be bragging about how much blood they lost. But nothing distinguished us like the Mercy maneuver. This was the Houdini-style trick of changing out of your uniform into your gym suit, out of the gym suit back into your uniform without ever exposing any flesh. We were experts at the technique. Years later, when I saw some escape artists wrestle out of a straitjacket, I stifled a yawn. It hardly seemed worthy of the genre compared with the sleight of hand of a Mercy girl. Magicians only had to get out of things. We had to get out of, into, back out of, and then back into. We should have sold tickets! We hated our uniforms uniformly. They were unfashionably long. To avoid sartorial embarrassment, we would roll them up at the waist and then hopefully remember to unroll them when we got to school. But I remember Sister Dorothea calling Katie Bergman up once like this, grabbing the end of the hem, and it came down, down, down. And the whole class, so you could all be in trouble with this. You know, it wasn't your uniform skirt, but you could all get detention just because you were near her. No one in the room is breathing. And I think that means, I don't know what you got for that, Katie, but we felt sorry for you. Now, we particularly despise those pavement pounders. Remember those monstrous, ugly, quad-hopping, corrugated, 2-ton, gray suede Oxford bricks? And we were further shamed having to wear those skimpy ankle covers. Because everybody knew that to be cool was to wear man-sized wool socks, all scrunched up at the inside. And then maybe another sock top stuck inside the cuff to make it look larger. And then paired with a slender loafer, penny loafer, that we always put a dime in. We did, didn't we? A dime and a penny loafer. Or those bubble shoes. They were sort of saddle shoes light, remember? They were really cute. Or blue caps. And you see, then this big, fat, chunky ankle would make the leg look slender and the foot look small. God, we were clever! Oh dear. Now, there was no such thing as a shoulder bag or a backpack. We arm carried all our books. The customary 3-ring blue notebook that pretty much had A, N, D, G, and J, and J on it, all for the honor of and not the plus a purse and our lunch. Dressy shoes were ballerinas, pumps, probably black, and mules. Do you remember those? Those backless heels. They had a strip of elastic in them. And every time they took a step, they slept on your foot, wake you up if you were starting to fall asleep. I had a pink plastic pair. Oh, I'm sure you remember them. They must have been the envy of everyone. They were the cutest, sweetest little things. And I'd walk out to the dance floor thinking to myself, they're all looking. They're all looking. And then of course you get out there and your feet would heat up, and I came back and crossed my legs so that others could better admire them. Only to look down in horror, and they totally steamed up. They moisture dripping out. Absolutely disgusting. Jewelry was, well, a string of pearls. Only 4 girls out of 223 in the yearbook are not wearing a string of pearls like that. Only 4. Dorothy Caulfield is at least wearing a pearl. What the other 3 were thinking, I have no idea. Individuality was not particularly encouraged. Now,